Hey everybody, welcome back to Sharing History, your place where wargaming, modeling and history come together. So today I want to talk about the Leopard tanks from Team Yankee World War III and then the Leopard 1 tanks. I want to show you guys how to make the Leopard 1 tank as a Dutch Leopard 1 tank or a Dutch Leopard 1V tank. It's like the Dutch equivalent of the 1A5. That makes this kit really usable for this task. I'll show you why. Come. So I'll get you guys in close-up mode for the moment. I'll make some room. As you can see, I'm working on all kinds of projects. I'm working on a 116 Sherman 105. Working on the French starter set from the Blitzkrieg. Working on a Dutch Renault tank in 28mm. Working on the Dutch Prince of Orange from North Star Miniatures in 28mm. And in the distance you got a few Dad's Army in 28mm. So yeah, working on a lot. But at the moment I was working on the Leopard tanks. Now why is this set so suitable for making both Dutch versions and of course of other countries, but I'm focusing on the Dutch right now, because all the parts you need to make either the Leopard 1 or the Leopard 1A5/1V are inside this specific box. So the correct box that I use for this is the Leopard 1 Panzerzug, and the box number is TGBX20. There are more Leopard 1 box sets out there, but I chose this specific one because the parts you need for both the versions are in this box, and I really wanted to make both versions. So I will show you the sprues really quick so you see what you get, because you can make more versions out of this box. This is the big sprue, and here you see the upper hull, lower hull, side skirts, tooling on the sides, turret bottom, but also the turret of the Leopard 1A4, so the 1A4, not the 2A4, which has a welded construction instead of a cast construction, so that's quite important. Backside, the side shields of the turret of the 1A5, the back shield of the 1A5, and some extras. Really important, but it's in all the Leopard kits, is the MG3, which we will not use for the Dutch version, but also the FN Mag, which we will use for the Dutch version. Next up is a small sprue with one of the turrets. This one you'll need for the 1A5 or the 1V, because it has the open top part of the turret, and you'll need to fit this one in there because the Dutch versions both had the stereoscopic rangefinder. It's a mouthful for a non-native English speaker. More machine guns to choose from. For the Leopard 1 version, the open turret bustle rack, and again the open bustle rack, the smooth barrel, so without the thermal jacket, and the mounting point for your muzzle. And last but not least, we get the tracks. For early Dutch Centurions, you do not need the side skirts, so the tracks will be open. And here again you've got a choice of 2 extra barrels. You've got the 1A4 turret and the 1 turret Leopard 1. Different mantles, you need this one for the 1A5 and some other bits you need for the turret construction. Now, to be hyper correct, you need a lot of things to do, but to be hyper correct, you need a lot of things to do on the basic kit, but to be visually correct, there's a few small options you can do just to make them stand out as typical Dutch. Because if you want to go into really a lot of detail, for example, on the barrel, the early Dutch Leopards had a thermal sleeve for half of the barrel, and the barrels provided in the kit are either completely smooth or with full thermal jacket. So yeah, I didn't go that far. What I did do is make them look and stand out as typical Dutch Leopard tanks. What I used on Colts 3D, you can find a Leopard 1V conversion kit. It was made by Jasper Breurs, and it's for a 135 conversion of the Leopard model kits. However, I scaled it down to 1 in 100, and it actually printed really good. I'll see if the camera zooms in far enough. You can see the typical Dutch smoke discharges with the detail and the Dutch antenna mounts with detail. So yeah, the file is really usable, even in this really small scale. So I was really happy with it. I didn't use all the parts because some of the parts were just too small to be able to print, and I only used the parts which I think was appropriate to make this one stand out in this scale as a Dutch tank. So I will walk you through it. The Leopard 1 tank, start with the hull. You build it up like a normal Team Yankee Leopard. Nothing really big here except for the toolboxes. The Dutch had typical toolboxes with one big one on the right side and two smaller ones on the left side. What you need to do for this, I do this before I mount these. I cut them out, and with a knife I shave off all the tooling and then sand it until it's smooth. After that you get your 3D printed toolboxes like this one and just glue it on with super glue. That's actually the main thing you need to do about the hull. If you want to add a little more detail, which I did not do, is add mirrors on both sides. The Dutch tanks had really quite large mirrors, but I had a feeling they would be too fragile for wargaming and they would break off really quick. One thing I still need to add is two fire extinguishers on top of the lights. I forgot to print them, I still need to do it, but they lay flat just behind the headlights. So that's quite important, because the Dutch were the only ones to have that. The turret, you need to do a little bit more work. You need to build up the version with the stereoscopic rangefinders. You need to snap off the antenna mounts. Let me show you which ones that is. It's the little round thingies, and this is also the turret you need, because that one goes on top with the rangefinders. And the last thing, which is actually the most important, is the smoke discharges on both sides. Those racks are really different than the German ones, because the German ones have them all in line, like so. And the Dutch ones have them in pairs of 2 vertically behind each other, and then 6 in total. So what you need to do is you need to cut out this piece and then with a sharp knife snap it off right here. So you mount the bustle rack, but you do not mount these smoke dischargers. Instead, you glue the bustle rack straight where it's supposed to be, just follow the instructions, and then where the German smoke discharge should be, you mount the 3D printed rack. As you see, they fit perfectly around the turret shape. It really shows the drawing is really well made. Put them together, you've got visually quite a good Leopard 1. Again, if you want to be hyper correct, there is one big change you could do. That's the tracks, because the kit tracks have the block tracks, but the Dutch tanks actually had the chevron tracks, like on a Sherman, for example. I found it to be too big of a job, so I will not do that. But yeah, if you want to be hyper correct, that is one of the big things you should do. Moving on to the 1V, and the V stands for verbeterd or improved in English. Please like and subscribe to my channel, really helps. Visually it looks a lot like the Leopard 1A5, but there are major differences. The German tank had I think it's a thermal sight here. The Dutch didn't. The Dutch did have a mounting for a thermal sight, but it was never mounted. The Dutch did use the infrared light here, and they still have the stereoscopic rangefinders. So the shield will not fit, because the shield is made for the turret without. So what you need to do is take the shield, and the smoke discharges are molded on, but they go off really good. You snap it here, you snap it here, and then snap it along here with a sharp knife. You just put it on your cutting board, apply a little bit of pressure like so, and it just flies off. So that's really easy. Next thing you need to do is make a cutout here and here, so the opening here becomes a little bit bigger. If I pull in the turret, you'll see the difference. Here you still see one of the mounting screws, and in real life you will still see it, but on the model it's just impossible. You need to cut it just around that first screw until it just fits, so that your shield fits like the original shape of the turret. It's not a big job, but if you don't do it, it won't fit and it will look really awkward. And one thing I didn't find clear on the instructions was how to mount the front shield. So mine looks a bit fucked up because I replaced it a couple of times. So yeah, with the next model I will do better, because now I know how it should be mounted. I used the thermal jackets on the barrel, and as you can see, there's a storage box on this side of the turret, the smoke discharges, the infrared mounting, which was never mounted, and the typical antenna mounts for the Dutch. Again, the storage boxes on the side, and on the 1V you can fit the side skirts. So in order to make them stand out differently, I did so you can really tell the difference. So in short, that's how you build a Dutch Leopard 1 or a Dutch Leopard 1V/1A5. That's it for now. Join me on the next one and I will tell you more about how to make your tank appear Dutch. If you like what we're doing, consider subscribing to my channel.